The fall of Commander Serana rain hit the ground like bullets. The sky was dark, full of smoke and fire. Something was falling fast from above. It wasn't a shooting star. It was a ship, damaged, burning, crashing. Inside the ship, Commander Serana was losing control. Red lights flashed. Warning sounds echoed. Her hands moved quickly over the alien controls, but it was no use. The ship had been hit. Her own people had done this. The Zirian Empire had turned against her. "Computer," she said, breathing heavy. "Activate emergency landing." "Warning," the computer replied. "Systems critical, crash unavoidable." Serana closed her eyes. This was not how a commander should fall. She had led many battles. She had destroyed entire cities. But now, she was falling to a planet she had once planned to conquer. Earth. The ship hit the ground with a loud explosion. Trees broke. Soil flew in the air. The ship slid and stopped in a quiet forest, smoke rising from its sides. Hours passed. Birds flew over the trees. Silence returned. Then, a sound came from inside the wreck. A door opened slowly with a hiss. Serana crawled out, her arm bleeding, her face full of dirt and ash. Her black armor was broken in places. Her silver eyes looked around. This planet was green, alive, and now, her prison. She walked a few steps and fell to the ground. Her body was strong, trained for battle, but now it was tired. Her mission had failed. She had failed, and failure in the Zirian Empire meant death. Serana touched the small device on her wrist. It still worked, but she did not send a message. She knew what would happen. If the Empire found her, they would finish what they started. Her mind went back to the last mission. She was leading an invasion. But she had stopped it. Something had changed in her. She had seen a child, a human child, crying in fear. And for the first time she couldn't give the order to attack. Her commanders called it weakness. They sent a hunter ship to destroy her. And now, she was here. Alone, as the sun began to rise, Serana tried to move again. She had to hide. If humans found her, they would panic. If the Empire found her, she would die. She made it to a cave near the crash site. Inside, it was cold and dark, but safe. She used a small tool from her belt to close her wounds. The pain was sharp, but she didn't scream. Meanwhile, not far away, a man named Jake was walking through the forest. He was a former soldier, now living a quiet life in a cabin nearby. He had seen the fire in the sky. He thought it was a plane crash. Curiosity pulled him closer. He reached the crash site and froze. This was no plane. He saw the strange metal, the alien signs, the smoke. And then he saw footprints. Big, strong, deep in the soil. Something or someone had survived. Jake followed the trail carefully, his hand near his old pistol. He wasn't sure what he was walking into. In the cave, Serana heard him coming. She took out her blade. Her hands were still shaking. She had no energy to fight, but she would not die without trying. Jake stepped inside slowly. They saw each other. For a second, no one moved. Serana's silver eyes met his human ones. She looked like a soldier, but also broken. Jake could tell. She was not from this world. Her skin had a soft glow. Her armor was strange, but she didn't attack. "Are you hurt?" Jake asked. Serana didn't answer. "I don't want to fight," he said, raising his hands. She looked at him, confused. No human had ever spoken to her like that. Not in peace. Not with kindness. She lowered her blade just a little. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice cold. "Names." "Jake," he replied. "You're lucky I found you." She laughed bitterly. "No, I'm not." He looked at her wounds. "You need help." "Why?" she asked. "I am your enemy." "Not today," he said. Outside, birds were singing again. The forest looked calm, but danger was not far. Up in the sky, a signal was sent from the remains of the ship, a signal calling someone who would come not to rescue, but to kill. But for now, in that quiet cave, Something strange was happening. An alien who had lost everything. Oh, human who had nothing to gain. And yet, their paths had crossed, and nothing would ever be the same again. Enemy or ally? The cave was silent, but the tension inside it could be felt like a sharp blade. Commander Serrana sat against the cold stone wall, watching the human named Jake. He had not attacked her, not even after seeing her true form. No fear in his eyes, only caution, and maybe curiosity. Her body was still weak, her wounds fresh. She hated this feeling, powerless, helpless. Back in the Zirian Empire, she was feared, a leader, a weapon. Now she was hiding in a hole, being watched by the very species she once planned to conquer. "Why are you helping me?" she asked him again, her voice steady but low. Jake didn't answer at first. He was making a small fire from dry wood. Once it caught flame, he looked at her and shrugged. "I don't like watching people die," he said. "Even if they're not people." Serrana's eyes narrowed. "I am not one of you, I noticed," Jake said with a small grin. Serrana didn't smile back. She didn't understand his calm. She didn't trust it. In her world, kindness was a mask people wore before betrayal. And yet, he hadn't turned her in. He hadn't left her to bleed. She looked at his hands. Strong. Scarred. He was a fighter, once. Maybe still was. "You are a soldier," she said. "Used to be. Now I fix broken things and live alone. Then why not let me die?" He looked into the fire for a moment. "Maybe because I've seen enough people die." Serrana leaned her head back, staring at the rocky ceiling. She was tired, but she couldn't rest. Her mind wouldn't stop. Every second she expected the sound of ships overhead. The Empire wouldn't leave her alive. Exile was just the beginning. She had seen what they did to traitors. What she didn't know was that one of them was already here. Far above in orbit, a dark, silent ship floated over Earth's atmosphere, smaller than Serrana's, but faster. Deadlier. Inside it stood a shadow in armor, taller, darker, and far more dangerous than even Serrana had ever been. His name was Vael, an elite hunter of the Zirian Empire. He had been given one task: terminate the traitor. His eyes glowed blue as he read the data from her crash. The trail was faint, but there. Earth was weak. Humans were no threat. His only concern was her, and making sure her shame never touched the Empire again. He stepped into his drop pod and launched. Silent. Fast. Without warning. Back in the cave, Jake handed Serrana a small bottle of water. "Drink," he said. "You need it." She looked at it like it was poison. "What if it's a trick?" "Then I'm the worst assassin ever," he said. She took it slowly and drank. The taste was strange, cleaner than the liquids on her home world. Earth was simple, almost too peaceful. It made her uneasy. Suddenly, her wrist device blinked red. Her eyes widened. "What is it?" Jake asked. "A hunter," she said. "What kind of hunter?" "The kind that never fails." Jake's body tensed. He looked outside the cave. "He's coming for you?" She nodded. "He's not coming to talk." "Then we move." Serrana looked at him in shock. "You are not involved. You don't have to help. You crash into my planet, break my trees, bleed in my cave, and now you bring someone who might level this whole forest?" "Yeah," he said, grabbing his rifle. "I think I'm involved." She stared at him. This human was a mystery. They left the cave before sunrise, moving through the forest. Serrana tried to walk fast, but pain slowed her. Jake supported her without saying a word. As they walked, she asked him, "Why are you really helping me?" Jake was silent, for a while. Then he said, "I've seen people change. Enemies become friends. Sometimes the ones you're supposed to hate are the ones who save your life." Serrana looked down. She wasn't sure she could be anyone's friend. She had too much blood on her hands, but there was no time to think. A sound cracked through the sky like thunder. They looked up and saw a small ball of fire falling from space. The hunter had arrived. Vial landed far from the crash site. He moved fast, scanning the ground, reading the signs. He didn't need roads or maps. His instincts were sharper than any machine. He could smell her fear, even across miles. As he walked through the forest, trees bent under his strength. Small animals ran from his steps. He moved without speaking, without mercy. He touched a tree. Fresh tracks. 2 of them, human and Zerian. She has a guide, he said, almost amused. He activated his weapon, a long black blade that shimmered with heat. Then I'll kill them both. Miles away, Serana stopped walking. He's close, she whispered. I can feel him. Jake looked at her. Then we set a trap. No, she said. You leave. Not a chance. You don't understand, Jake. He doesn't stop. He doesn't feel. He kills. Then so do we, Jake said. For the first time, Serana felt something strange inside her. Hope. Not because she believed she could survive, but because, for the first time in her life, she wasn't fighting alone. The hunt begins. The forest was no longer quiet. Birds had vanished. The wind had stopped. The trees, once full of life, now stood still, like they were holding their breath. Something dark had entered these woods. Vial was moving through the earth like a shadow with purpose. Each step was silent. His senses locked on his prey. He was bred for this, for the hunt. No fear, no hesitation, just the mission, find Commander Serana and erase her. And now, she was not alone. That made it more fun. Jake and Serana moved. Through the forest quickly, their steps light but fast. Jake knew these woods. He had hunted deer here, camped in the hills, tracked wolves during winter. But this was no animal they were escaping from. This was something worse. How close is he? Jake asked, keeping his eyes sharp. Serana tapped her wrist. Less than 2 miles. He's scanning heat trails, sound waves. We can't hide for long. Can we fight him? No. That's not what I wanted to hear. Serana stopped. You don't understand. Vial was trained to kill soldiers like me. Even when I was at full strength, he was stronger. Now? She looked at her wounded arm. He won't need 5 minutes. Jake looked around. They had to be smart. We need high ground. I know a place. He led her up a rocky path through thick trees. Behind the trees, hidden under vines and broken stones, was an old watchtower from the war. Half-burnt. Forgotten. Jake had used it before for hunting. If we can see him first, we might have a chance, he said. They climbed in and set up quickly. Jake gave her a small rifle, an old human weapon, simple but deadly. Serana frowned. This is ancient. So am I. Jake smirked. She didn't laugh, but the corner of her mouth twitched, a small crack in her cold face. They waited. Hours passed. The wind returned, but it felt wrong, like it carried danger with it. Then, movement. Vial stopped at a tree, crouching low. He touched the soil, warm. Her trail was fresh, but she was no longer running in panic. She was hiding. He smiled under his helmet. She remembers how to fight, he said softly. Good. He looked up. High rocks, old human structure. Yes, he saw it now, a trap, but he didn't walk into it. No. Vial was a hunter. He knew how to turn the game. Instead of going up, he circled around silently, climbing a nearby tree and using his cloak to vanish from sight. He would not be caught. He would do the catching. I don't see him, Jake whispered. Serana scanned with the scope. He's too smart. He knows we're watching. So what do? We change the game. She stood up and took off her wristband. This sends out a false location signal. We'll leave it below, far from us. It might distract him. Jake raised an eyebrow. And if it doesn't, then we fight. And we die. You talk about death like it's nothing. In my world, she said, it's the only promise we believe. Jake didn't respond. Instead, he placed his hand gently on her shoulder. You're not in your world anymore. Vial found the signal, a blinking device near the stream. Clever, but not clever enough, he crushed it under his boot. I expected more from you, Serana, he whispered. Then he heard the click, a sound from above, a rifle, human. He spun fast, blade ready, and blocked the bullet midair. It shattered against his armor. So, they knew where he was. Good. He vanished into the trees again. And then, he spoke. His voice came through Serana's old communicator. You have fallen far, Commander, Vial said. Hiding behind humans? Using their toys to protect you? Serana's eyes widened. He's speaking through my device. I gave you respect once, Vial continued. But now I will give you mercy. Die quickly, or I kill your humans slowly. Jake. Heard it too. He's messing with us. Serana's hands trembled, not from fear but from anger. He always plays with his prey. He wants us scared before the kill. Then let's not be scared. Easier said than done. They moved fast, leaving the tower before it was surrounded. The sun was falling now. Shadows stretched long. Across the forest floor as they ran, Serana stopped suddenly. No, she whispered. What is it? Jake asked. He's not following us. Then what is he doing? Serana looked behind them. He's driving us somewhere. Jake realized the truth. He's controlling the whole path. They were never the hunters. They were just mice, in a maze. And the maze was almost closed. At the edge of the forest, a small field opened. Old human buildings stood in ruins. Metal, stone, rusted trucks, abandoned since the last war. Serana and Jake entered carefully, but it was too quiet. Trap, Jake said. Yes, she answered. They stood back to back, weapons ready. And then, he appeared. From the shadows, Vial stepped forward, tall, in dark armor that reflected the fading light. His blade glowed. His eyes were fixed only on Serana. I gave you a chance, he said. You gave me orders, she replied. You were the Empire's best. You could have ruled. I saw the truth. I chose my own path, and you chose him? Vial looked at Jake like a bug. He saved my life. Then I will end his. Vial moved like lightning. Jake fired. Serana leapt forward. Metal clashed. Fire sparked. It was not just a battle. It was a war of worlds. Betrayal and blood, the battle had already begun before the first strike was thrown. In the center of the ruined field, 3 warriors stood. Serana, once the feared commander of the Zarian Empire. Jake, a human survivor with a soldier's heart. And Vial, the elite hunter sent to erase the traitor. The silence before the storm lasted only seconds. Then, chaos. Vial moved like a machine, his blade a blur. Jake fired his rifle, aiming for the joints in Vial's armor. Serana charged in from the side, drawing her last plasma blade. Metal screamed. Sparks flew. Jake rolled behind cover as Vial swung hard, slashing stone and steel like paper. Serana leapt into the air, striking high, but Vial caught her mid-air and slammed her to the ground. You were a queen of fire, Vial hissed. Now look at you, weak, broken, human-loving. Serana kicked him back, coughing. Her ribs were bruised. You don't see it yet, she said. But I'm stronger now than I ever was under the Empire. Then die with that lie. Jake rushed forward, stabbing Vial in the leg with a blade of his own. A crude human knife. It barely scratched the hunter's armor. Vial backhanded him across the face, sending him flying into a wall. You protect him? Vial asked her. This fragile creature? He's more loyal than the Empire ever was. Vial raised his blade, and then he stopped. A sudden sound came through his communicator. A voice, cold, powerful. Vial, report. Serana's blood went cold. She knew that voice. Supreme General Arax. He was her former superior, her mentor, and the one who had ordered her death. Vial didn't respond. He looked at Serana. They want to speak to you. He threw the communicator on the ground. The device lit up with a hologram of Arax's face, sharp, emotionless. "Serana," he said. "You're still watching me," she said. "Always. Even in failure, you fascinate us. What do you want? We gave you power, purpose, and you threw it away for what, compassion? Humans? They're more alive than we ever were." Arax's voice sharpened. "We don't need you anymore, but we need him." Jake, bleeding, looked confused. "What?" "His body, his mind. We've been watching him too. He has something we need." "You're lying," Serana growled. "Are we?" Arax said. "You didn't fall to Earth by accident. We sent you to find him. Your ship was programmed to crash. You were the bait." Serana's heart stopped. Her eyes widened. "No, I wasn't," but she remembered now. Data files locked in her ship. Strange coordinates. Orders she never questioned. It was all there. "You used me. You were disposable. He is not." Serana turned to Jake, shaken. "They wanted you all along." Jake stood slowly. "So you didn't save me. You were sent to hunt me." "I didn't know," she whispered. "I swear it." Jake looked at her like a stranger. His hand moved away from his weapon. "So what now?" Before she could answer, Vael attacked again, fast, brutal. His blade aimed for Jake, but Serana moved in front and took the strike. The blade cut through her armor into her side. She fell gasping. "No!" Jake shouted. He opened fire, hitting Vael square in the chest. Sparks exploded from the armor, forcing the hunter back. Jake dropped beside Serana, pressing on her wound. "Stay with me," he said. She coughed. "I should have told you the truth. I should have known." "You were trying to be free," Jake said. "Just like me." Vael rose again, wounded but not stopped. "You've made your choice, Commander. You'll both die for it." But a sound came from the sky. A low hum. A ship, Serana's damaged ship, was powering up remotely. The crash site wasn't dead after all. Serana's eyes lit up with a new plan. "The reactor. I can overload it, cause an explosion." "You'll kill him?" Jake asked. "And myself." "No. There's no other way." "Yes," Jake said. "Me." He stood, rifle in hand. "You run to the ship. Set the overload. I'll distract him. He'll kill you. Then at least you get to live. And stop the Empire." She stared at him. He was willing to die. For her. After everything. She nodded once, then ran. Jake faced Vael with one bullet left. "Just you and me now," he said. Vael laughed. "You're no soldier. No, just human." He fired, one clean shot, into Vael's eye socket. The hunter roared in pain, blinded, furious, and Jake ran. Serana reached the ship. Bleeding, shaking, she used the last of her strength to activate the core. Countdown began. 60 seconds. She sent one last signal to Jake. "I'll come back for you." Jake smiled as he saw the sky glow behind him. And then, everything turned white. The explosion lit up the night. A mushroom of fire rose into the air. Vael was gone. So was Jake. The forest burned. And Serana. She crawled out of the wreckage alive, barely. She looked at the stars with tears in her eyes. She had betrayed her empire. And maybe, in a way, she had betrayed him too. But the war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Secrets of the Zarian Empire. The night was quiet again. But the silence didn't bring peace, only ashes. The forest still smoked from the explosion. Trees lay in ruins. Animals had fled, and in the middle of it all, standing alone among the wreckage, was Serana. She was alive, but not whole. Her body ached. Her side was bleeding. Her mind was broken. She looked at the spot where Jake had stood. There was nothing left but dust, and a burned piece of his jacket caught on a tree branch. She held it in her hand, trembling. "You said you were just human," she whispered, eyes full of pain, "but you were more." Behind her, the remains of her ship glowed faintly. One part of it had survived, the black core. It wasn't just an energy source, it was a memory archive, and it still worked. Serana dragged herself inside the wreck and powered the archive. Holograms flickered, showing missions, orders, data logs. Her entire past as a commander laid bare in front of her. But now, she wasn't looking for the past. She was searching for the truth. What did they want from Jake? She asked the system. The AI responded in its cold voice. Genetic anomaly detected. Subject 45790, Jake Ellis. Compatible with Xerion neural network. Her eyes widened. Compatible? The subject's brain shows rare electric stability, capable of hosting a hive mind link. Serana backed away. A hive mind was the Empire's secret weapon, an ancient project, a dream to connect all Xerion minds through one central host, a living network, a perfect army with no thoughts of its own, only commands. They had tested it on their own people. They had all died. But Jake, a human, was compatible. That's why. The Empire wanted him not for death but for control. They were going to use him as the heart of the Empire, she whispered. Not a soldier, a machine, and she had been the delivery system. As she sat in the flickering light, something unexpected happened. A sound. Weak, static-filled. Her communicator blinked red. Then, Serana? Her breath caught. That voice. Jake, how are you? No. Time, he said. His voice was broken, fading. I was pulled out before the blast. They took me. I'm not free. Where are you? Underground. Deep. Somewhere cold. They're doing something. I hear whispers. They want to connect me. Then silence. Jake? No answer. Only static. Serana stared at the device, her face pale. He was alive, and the Empire had him. A cold fire lit up inside her. Not anger, not revenge. Something deeper. Responsibility. She had caused this, and now she would end it. Miles away under the surface of the planet, in a hidden Xerion bunker, Jake sat strapped to a metal chair. Wires ran from his head into the ceiling. His eyes twitched. His body jerked slightly as energy flowed through him. Around him stood scientists, Xerion hybrids in cloaks, watching, recording, and above them all, watching through a glass wall, stood a new figure, Empress Lyra, younger than Arax, smarter, colder. She had taken control after the war failed, and she was ready to start a new one, with Jake at the center. He will be the voice of the new army, she said. A perfect network, a human shell. With a Xerion mind. What if he resists? One asked. She smiled. Then we break him. Back in the forest, Serana climbed into the escape pod that had detached from her ship. It was small, fast, and still had cloaking ability. She set the coordinates based on the signal trace, deep underground, under old human ruins, near the old war zones. The Empire had been hiding there all along. As the pod took off, she looked down at the forest one last time. You saved me, Jake. Now it's my turn. And she vanished into the sky. The deeper she flew underground, the darker it got. Old tunnels. Broken cities. Burned bunkers from the First Contact War. Human history erased. Buried. And in the middle of it, built like a hive, was a giant facility. Black metal, glowing red veins, breathing like it was alive. The Xerion core base. She landed her pod quietly on the outer edge, stepped out with nothing but a plasma dagger and her old command codes. As she entered the base, a voice echoed from the walls. Traitor Serana. Return to your place, she answered coldly. I came for what's mine. And the alarms began to ring. She had no army, no backup, no chance of winning. But she had one mission, save Jake, or die trying. The choice, the doors closed behind her like a prison gate. Commander Serana stepped into the heart of the Empire she once called home, the Xerion core base. Cold walls pulsed with light. The air was thick, humming with alien energy. Every step she took echoed like thunder. Every shadow whispered her name. Traitor. Failure. One of us, or one of them. But Serana had no time for voices. She had one goal. Find Jake. Her body still ached from the crash. Her side was bandaged. Her weapons were low on power. But inside her chest, something burned stronger than ever before. Purpose. She walked with eyes sharp and fists clenched. This place was built to control. But she would break it. Deep inside the facility, Jake hung suspended in a glowing chamber. Wires drilled into his back, his eyes open but far away, trapped between thought and silence. The Empire wasn't just using him. They were rewriting him. Begin stage 3, said Empress Lyra from behind the glass. Linking neural field, a scientist responded. Inside Jake's mind, it began. His memories were replayed. Every war, every fear, every heartbreak, then twisted, bent into obedience. But Jake was fighting back. He remembered the forest, the fire, her face, Serana. And somewhere inside his fractured mind, he whispered, "Don't let them win." Serana reached the central corridor. 2 guards blocked the path. Without a word, she struck. Her blade lit up in blue fire, slicing through one and disarming the other. No time for mercy. Alarms blared again. The voice of Empress Lyra echoed through the base. Serana, you return to your origin. The Empire forgives. If you obey. Serana raised her blade to a wall camera. I'm not here for forgiveness. Lyra's voice changed. Calmer, darker. Then you're here to die. The chamber where Jake was held began to shift. Mechanical arms reached for his skull, ready to upload the hive mind permanently. Serana reached the chamber door and placed her hand on the scanner. It still accepted her. The door opened, and inside, Jake floated in the center, eyes glowing white, whispering words not his own. Connect, obey, destroy. Serana ran to him. Jake, it's me. His eyes flickered. He blinked. Serana? The connection trembled. Empress Lyra appeared on the other side of the glass, watching with quiet interest. You see now? She said. We never needed you to kill him. We only needed you to bring him. You used both of us, Serana growled. You brought him to the gates of the hive, and now he is ours. Serana placed her forehead to Jake's. His breath was shallow, his voice weak. They're in my head, he whispered, but you're still there too. She held his hand tight. Don't let go. Not yet. Then Lyra gave the final order. If he resists, terminate them both. Gas filled the chamber. Blades dropped from the ceiling. Countdown started. 9, 8, Serana's mind raced. There was one way to break the link. A dangerous, forbidden protocol. She had only seen it once. I'm going to override the system, she told Jake, but it means I have to connect to you. You mean merge? He asked, terrified. Just for a moment, long enough to pull you out. What if it fails? Then we die. He looked at her. Even in pain. Even in fear. And nodded. Do it. Serana placed her wrist device against the core panel. A blue light surrounded them both. Her thoughts were pulled into Jake's mind, and suddenly, she was inside. It wasn't a place. It was a storm. Voices, memories, screams, commands. Years of war, pain, duty. All of it mixed together, and at the center, Jake, standing in darkness, fighting shadows shaped like soldiers. You shouldn't be here, he said. Then neither should you, she replied. She ran to him and stood at his side. The shadows screamed, kill, obey, destroy. But Serana screamed louder, you are not theirs. She lifted her hand and burned the code. One by one, the voices died. The Empire's commands faded, and then light. The system shorted outside the chamber, sparks flew. Power failed. Jake fell from the cables, breathing hard. Serana held him. But it wasn't over yet. The walls began to shake. Core system failing. A voice announced. Lyra watched them from the other side of the glass. You have doomed yourself, Commander. No, Serana said. I set us free. Lyra activated a final defense protocol. Missiles armed. Drones powered up. But before she could give the last command, Serana raised her old Empire passcode and spoke. Code Black. Unity. Override. A command only a high commander could give. Every machine stopped. Every weapon shut down. Even Lyra's screen blinked out. Serana turned to Jake. We have 60 seconds. Can you walk? He stood. I can run. They escaped through a tunnel as the base collapsed behind them. Fire and rubble chased them, but they didn't stop. They kept moving, until the sound of the Empire was gone. Until there was only sky. They collapsed under the stars. Broken. Breathing. Alive. Serana looked at him. You okay? Jake smiled weakly. Depends. Are we still enemies? She laughed quietly. No. Then yeah. I'm okay. And for the first time since she fell from the stars, she didn't feel like a soldier. She felt like a person, but far above them, deep in the shadows of space. A new fleet was rising. The Empire had lost its weapon, but it hadn't lost its hunger. A new home. The stars stretched far across the sky, quiet, peaceful, distant, but for Serana they no longer looked the same. She once ruled them. She once wanted to conquer them. Now, she simply wanted to live under them. Beside her, Jake slept, weak, scarred but alive. They had escaped the Empire's core facility with nothing but breath and memory. They were hiding now, in the ruins of a mountain village, long abandoned after the war. For the first time in days, there were no alarms. No weapons. No voices in their heads, only silence. But Serana couldn't sleep. She stood outside the crumbling house they found. Wind passed through broken windows, stars above, earth below, and something inside her. Changing, not just guilt. Not just pain, rebirth. In orbit, however, peace was a lie. The Zarian fleet had arrived. Silent ships cloaked in black armor, surrounding Earth like vultures waiting for the final breath. Inside the flagship, Empress Lyra stood with her hands behind her back. She had survived the base collapse. And now, she was done hiding. The experiment failed, her general said, but we've located both subjects again. Serana is no longer useful, Lyra replied. Jake might still be. Orders? Lyra turned to the stars. Erase the planet. Back on the surface, Jake woke up to the sound of distant thunder, but it wasn't a storm. It was ships breaking the atmosphere. They found us, Serana said, standing in the doorway. How much time? Not enough. She walked to the table and pulled out the last working device from her belt. A beacon, one she had sworn never to use. What's that? Jake asked. A call for help. To an old friend or enemy. Depends on the day. You trust them? No, but we don't have a choice. She activated the beacon, and far away, in the far sectors of space, someone answered. The ground shook. Cities, far from them, began to go dark. Power grids fried. Satellites crashed. Zarian drones fell like black rain. Scanning, hunting. The war had come back to Earth. But this time, Earth was not alone. As Jake and Serana ran through the hills toward an old military station, the sky lit up with a new color, blue. Ships appeared from hyperspace, not human, not Zarian. Rogue Zarians, exiles, rebels, the broken few who had escaped Lyra's rule years ago. They answered Serana's call. Their leader, Commander Vena, contacted her directly. You're alive, she said. Barely, Serana replied. And the human? Serana looked at Jake. Stronger than all of us. Vena smiled. Then let's give him a reason to keep fighting. The final battle wasn't in space. It was here. On the ground. Humans. Xerian rebels. And two fugitives standing between Earth and total destruction. Ships roared overhead. Missiles flew. Drones hunted every shadow. But Serana led them, one last time this time, not as a conqueror, but as a defender. She moved through smoke and fire like she was born in it. Her blade sang. Her voice ordered. And beside her, Jake fought with no fear. Not because he wanted to win, but because he finally had something to protect. Inside the enemy flagship, Empress Lyra watched the chaos. How is this possible? Her generals asked. Because she remembered who she was. Lyra whispered, and with a scream of fury, Lyra entered the battlefield herself. The final showdown happened at the edge of a broken city. Serana faced Lyra. Two rulers of the same bloodline, now standing for opposite futures. Lyra raised her blade. I made you, she hissed. Then you made your mistake, Serana replied. They fought with every breath left in them. Blade against blade, rage against reason. In the final moment, Lyra struck, fast, deadly, but Jake stepped between them and blocked the blow. Blood spilled, and Serana, screaming, struck back. This time, Lyra fell. The Empire's chain of command broke, and with it, the fleet above Earth lost control. Ships began crashing. Drones fell. Silence returned once more. Hours later, the sky was clear. The cost had been great. But the war was over. Serana stood in the middle of the ruins, looking at the sunrise. Jake sat beside her, his arm bandaged, his face tired but peaceful. What now? He asked. Now, she said, we rebuild. Earth? Both of us. Together? She looked at him and smiled. Always. A few weeks later, a small colony was built, half human, half Xerian. Former enemies now working side by side, and, at the heart of it all, a woman who had once failed her empire, and a man she was sent to destroy. They didn't just survive. They changed the future, not with war, but with a choice. The end.